Hello friends, today I'm here and I'll start class 10 syllabus and we'll take up the book First Flight. And the first chapter of this book is A Letter to God. A Letter to God by Gregorio Lopez y Fuentes. Now Fuentes was a Mexican novelist, a poet and a journalist. Many of his famous articles have been published in the newspapers and they are very famous. If you want to read, you can search the internet and you'll definitely find very famous articles of his. This story, many movies have been made out of it. This story was actually written in Mexican language. It was later that other writers, they translated this story into English. Now there is a saying, I've written it also, faith can move mountains. That means that something which is very difficult, which is almost impossible to happen, can become possible if you have unwavering faith. And here in this story, this reflects a lot. This is a story about a hard-working, simple, sincere farmer, Rancho. Rancho was a very hard-working farmer. He had cornfields in the valley, and he lived in the valley itself on the crest of a low hill. What is crest? The top part. He used to live there, and just nearby he had his cornfields. And this year, when the story opens, he was very excited because he had a very good harvest. And what he was waiting was for rain. You know, all these farmers are dependent on rain. They depend on rain a lot because their fields want water. They are thirsty for water. And for good harvest, you need rain, good, nice rain. So he was all ready with his crops, everything was ready. He was only waiting for nice rain because this rain would give him a very good harvest and a very successful year, because you know all farmers are dependent on the rain which brings a good harvest, and that is the means of their livelihood and survival. So Rancho was very happy. He was hoping that it would rain, and suddenly he saw the clouds gathering. And he started looking up at the northeast direction. The clouds were gathering and he became happy. He started waiting the whole day. He kept sitting in the field waiting for rain. And it did rain. First, it started with a low breeze. He ran home. And he told his wife that these droplets of rain were like coins. The big ones were like 10 cents and the small ones were like 5 cents. Why did he say this? He compared the raindrops to these coins because that was only his means of survival. He became happy that now he would have a very good harvest. His fields would give him a lot of money. The corn that was ready would give him a lot of money and they would live very nicely the whole year. Because the whole year a farmer works a lot on the field, then comes the harvest season. And then they eat the money that is collected, that they get after selling the vegetable, corn, whatever it is, that is used by the family the whole year round. But he went home, his wife was there, wife was cooking food, and he tells all this to his wife. He's very happy. But this happiness is very short-lived. What happens is low rain. It was a low rain. It was a very light breeze. But this turned into a heavy downpour. Heavy downpour, a heavy rainfall. And which further led to hailstorm. There was a lot of hail all around in the field. The whole field, when he looked out, was white with hailstorm. he became sorrowful, he became worried, because this was not good, this was not expected. This would harm his crops, all his crops would get destroyed. And it did not stop. The hailstorm fell for 1 hour. All his crops were destroyed. It was all full of hailstorms. The whole field was full of that. This destroyed the crops. He became so sorrowful, so sad. What would he eat? His family would starve. It was so sad. This happens with, these farmers have to suffer a lot because of natural disasters. Natural disasters in the form of these hailstorms, floods, sometimes drought when there is no rain. So many natural disasters, they spoil the crop. Sometimes there is fire also. So this happened now, and he became very sad. But he did not lose hope. He was a very hopeful person. See, Rancho was very hardworking. He used to work a lot on his fields. And he was a very hopeful person too. First, he was hoping for the rain to come. Now, he has faith in God. He is a theist. He is a believer in God, that God exists. A person who believes that God exists is a theist. And a person who feels that God does not exist, it's just a power, he is a theist. We add a along with it. Alright? But Rancho is a theist, and he felt that God would not let anything bad happen with him and his family. His family will not starve because God is there. He had full, strong faith in God. Unwavering faith. Unflinching faith. No one could change that. So what he thinks of God, and he plans to write a letter to God. So here is our title, A Letter to God. He writes a letter and he tells everything, that he worked so long and now he had no money, everything was destroyed, and what would he eat? His family would starve, and so he needed 100 pesos. He asked God for 100 pesos and he told God to send the 100 pesos because he needed it for his family. Pesos is a currency, Mexican currency. 1 peso right now, this keeps changing, is Indian 3.26 rupee. Rupees 3.26 is equal to 1 pesos. 1 peso. So he asks God for 100 pesos. He writes the letter, and on the top he puts it into an envelope. On the top he writes God, and he goes to the post office next day and puts it into, he takes a stamp there, he puts the stamp on top of the envelope, and he goes and puts it into the letterbox. Now when he leaves and the day gets over, what does the postman and the other people in the post office do? They take out all the letters that has been put from the letter in the letterbox, and they segregate into different places wherever the addresses they have to be sent. So they get this envelope, and the postmaster is shocked to see the address and the name that is written as God. He goes in, he tells everybody, all his colleagues in the post office, everybody has a hearty laugh, that who is this person who is addressing a letter to God? But the postmaster, he has a hearty laugh, but then he feels very nice. He feels that a man can have such a lot of faith in God that he writes a letter to him. So he opens the envelope because he has nowhere to send. Where will he send it? So he himself opens to find out what the person has written in it. And what had Rancho written? He had told that his fields had been destroyed by the hailstorm, and he had asked for 100 pesos. So he reads, the postmaster reads. Postmaster is a fat man, but very kind. He's very loving, he's compassionate. He's very helpful. And friendly, yes, he is. He has so many friends in the post office. His colleagues are his friends. So when he reads the letter, he feels that a man can have such unwavering, unflinching faith in God that he has asked for 100 pesos and expects it to come. So what he does is, he talks to his colleagues. He tells that we should not break the belief of a man from God. He has hope. He has so much of belief, so much of faith in God. It should not get shaken. So he talks to them and he tells that he wants to help this person by whatever amount they can contribute. And all his colleagues, he was such a good friend of them. He was so compassionate, kind and helpful that everybody agrees to give whatever they could from their own salaries. The postmaster gave a good, nice part of his salary that he could afford, to just give. He donates it. So, but still the others have their own, responsibilities. Everybody can't give a big amount. So, whatever everybody could give, everybody contributed, and that amounted to 70 pesos. They could not make 100 pesos, but they think that we should at least help with 70 pesos if it has been collected. So they put the money in the envelope and the postmaster writes at the bottom, God. And Rancho had so much of faith that he returns to the post office after a few days because he knew that God would answer him. He had such strong faith in God. So Rancho comes and he gets his letter. Postmaster himself gives him the letter that he had, packed with 70 pesos. And Rancho goes out and opens the envelope. The postmaster wanted to see his expression. The postmaster was feeling very content, was feeling very happy and satisfied that he was able to help Rancho in his distressful and difficult and troubleful situation. So he was, seeing Rancho and wanted to see his reaction. So, but what was Rancho's reaction? Rancho became angry. When he counted, he saw that there were only 70 pesos and it was 30 pesos less. And Rancho had full faith in God. He said, God cannot send me the incorrect sum of money. He must have sent me 100 pesos only. Maybe the postmen, the officials in the post office, they are a bunch of crooks. He calls them a bunch of crooks. Crooks are who? Cheats. He thought they must have taken, someone in the post office must have taken out the 30 pesos. And he sits there, he writes another letter to God and he says, God, I have got 70 pesos, but I want 30 pesos more and please send them, but not through mail. Because he felt that a bunch of crooks were there who would again take out that money. And he, again closes the envelope and gives the letter. So this is the story which ends with an irony. Irony is what? Irony is, you are expecting something and something else happens. Sometimes ironical things are humorous also. Here also a little bit of humor comes. That Rancho was so simple, so innocent, that he felt that somebody else must have taken out the money. He had such unwavering faith in God that he feels that God could not send a wrong amount. So this ending was ironical, that even in spite of the postmen and his officials who had helped, they were not thanked for it, but they were called a bunch of crooks. And this happens many times. People are often misunderstood even in spite of their help that they have done. Anyway, that is something very different. Now let us quickly see what I have here for you. We have to discuss the character of Rancho and the postmaster. And as I told you that this whole story is based on the theme that faith can move mountains. It was because of strong faith that Rancho had in God that this problem of the field that had been destroyed, but still he was able to collect at least 70 pesos so that his family could survive. So this became possible. Otherwise, who would help him? Isn't it? Alright, now so let us see the character of Rancho. Rancho is and we'll start from here. He's an honest person. He does not tell lies. In the beginning only we come to know that he is a very honest man, a very hard-working man who keeps working on his fields, and there's nothing for him, like being untruthful, speaking a wrong or that way. So he's a very honest person. He's very simple. Now, sometimes people tell that he was very disrespectful to God. He did not thank God for whatever amount he had got. But if we see that what background he was coming from, he was just a farmer who the whole year he used to work on the fields, and with the money he would get, the family would survive with that money. That was their livelihood, the means of livelihood. So he was actually very simple. So we cannot say that he is disrespectful, but it depends on, the readers, how they perceive it. Alright? But if you want to write that he was disrespectful and he was selfish, he was greedy, he wanted 30 pesos more, then you should have a proper reason for it. Whenever you write the answer, according to what you perceive, your perception, it's absolutely fine, but at least proper reason should be given with that. Alright, so he was a very simple man. He was very hardworking. He used to work alone on the field. He had children also, but they were found playing and all. So when you read the chapter, you will come to know everything. Then he was very innocent. He thought that God would not send the wrong amount. He was so innocent. He said, God is God. He had so much of faith in God. He felt that this was his innocence, his simplicity. Alright. Then he was a theist. He is a believer in God, in the existence of God. He was literate. Here in India, we see many farmers who are not educated. But I believe everyone should at least be able to read and write a little. So he was a literate. That is why he was able to write a letter to God. And he had strong faith in God, unwavering faith, unflinching faith. Till the end, he writes again for 30 pesos. He believes that he would get that money, and there was no feeling of satisfaction or anything. It felt by his expression that he knew that the money would come. Alright, and he is very hopeful. In the beginning we see he hopes for a good rain which would promise a good harvest and then a good standard of living for the whole year. And later on he is hopeful for, he writes a letter because he is hopeful that God would send the 100 pesos, and again he is hopeful when he writes the second letter for the remaining 30 pesos. Alright, now let us see the character of the postmaster. I told you postmaster was a fat man, but he was very compassionate. What is compassion? It is love. He was very compassionate and helpful. See, he thought to help. He could have just ignored after reading the letter, but he did not want any person who had so much of faith in God, his faith to shaken. So he helped him. Then he was very friendly. He had many colleagues. Everybody was so friendly. They were ready to contribute after his idea came into his mind. He was very kind and he was very amiable. Amiable is a person who has got a very pleasant personality. So the postmaster has been shown as this. Alright, I'm sure you're going to read the lesson well, and if you come across any problem, you can put it into the comment section. I have even given a Gmail address over there. You can very well write your queries there, whatever you want. I'm sure to help. And if you have not subscribed my channel, now is the time. Please, please, please press the subscribe button, even the bell for the latest notifications, and please do take care of yourself. Thank you.